I'll start again. Hello, everyone. I'm Linda Marsanico. Welcome to the A Train to Sedona broadcast. The A Train to Sedona is also the name of a book I wrote, a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. I write about my failings, my successes, in the hope that my journey will inspire yours. You can buy a signed copy on my website at lindamarsanico.com or an unsigned copy from major retailers and bookstores. I also have a free gift. I call it the cheat sheet for high vibration living, a series of 7 exercises designed to help you keep your energy positive and at a very high vibration. For example, there is a walking meditation inspired by the master Thich Nhat Hanh. You're walking in a garden, you take off your shoes, and you feel the soil, and you feel the electricity coming from the earth to sustain you and recharge you. You can download a free copy on my website at lindamarsanico.com. I have 2 disclaimers. One, that this broadcast does not establish a professional relationship. And 2, that the opinions on this broadcast do not necessarily represent Talk Radio New York City. Today, my guest is Candace McKim. Candace McKim stands out as a beacon of empowerment and transformation in the realm of manifestation. Renowned internationally as an intuitive manifestation coach, #1 international best-selling author, TEDx speaker, and founder of the Manifestation Magic Process. Candace's dynamic presence and vibrant approach inspire soulful women in business to intuitively magnetize the clients and cash they're meant for in a much faster, less forceful way than most mainstream manifestation tips. Through her innovative manifestation methodologies, Candace guides individuals to tap into their innate power, attract their true purpose, and manifest extraordinary success. With a commitment to fostering profound transformation and impactful growth, Candace McKim continues to lead the way as a trailblazer in the field of intuitive manifestation coaching. Candace, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for what we're going to dive into today.
Well, I'm excited too. My first question is, when you look at your youth, your past, your adolescence, and forward, what are the influences that bring you to where you are today?
The strongest influences were my mom and my grandfather. They were both, my grandfather was what they called in the prairies of Canada a water witch. And he would have these tithing sticks and he would go to farms and find water. And my dad was saying one time he was using the sticks and was holding the sticks, and they knew there was water there, and my father couldn't get them to go in. And my grandpa just put his hand on my dad's arm, and they immediately went in. And so there was water there, so they knew to dig for water. And so, and he, of course, he raised my mom, and it was always a belief in our household that you don't need to go to church to pray, that there you get into nature, and nature was a really strong force of spirituality.
That's
So
a wonderful beginning to your gifts that you'll share with our listeners pretty soon. Um,
yeah.
your
Yeah,
intuitive
I
hunches,
sorry, go ahead.
your intuitive hunches that you mentioned to me the last time we spoke, being on the plane and having that hunch. I'll let you tell the story at some point during the broadcast. You were
Okay.
going to say something.
Yeah, no, I was really little. Like, I know a lot of people, they have like something major, an illness, or um something major that kind of wakes them up spiritually. But I kind of felt like I was always kind of, I'm not going to say awake, but kind of connected to duality, connected to intuition. I remember being a little girl and told to sit and kneel beside my bed and pray at night. And I was praying to God, and I was like, and I know I didn't use this language at that time, but I was thinking, well, if there's a male, there has to be a female, right? Like if I'm praying to some male God, there has to be a female God. And so I would pray to both. And even in my early childhood, I would pray to like a heavenly father, but a mother earth. Like I just knew there had to be some sort of duality, that it wasn't just, the father in heaven. And then at 12, my mom and dad, they were not hippies. You would think they were hippies, but they were self-employed, and they were running a business and raising three teenagers. And my mom was getting very stressed out. And so she went to the doctor, and the doctor prescribed Valium to her. And she's like, I can't take this stuff. I can't take this stuff and do what I need to do. And so at the young age of, I was 12 years old, they took our whole family to learn how to meditate. And it was like 6 months, every Thursday night, we learned how to meditate. And so I was guided on my path right from a really young age into connecting spirit, connecting to my intuition.
How
Mhm.
beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
What would you say the role of spirituality is in your life?
Well, it's played a huge role in my life. And I didn't realize, though, until I wrote my book, Yogini's Guide, Intuition is a Choice. And then I looked back, and then I realized how much I had been guided on the path. Like I said, I, started my meditation practice at 12 years old, meditating every single day. Um, of course, over the last, 50 some years, I haven't meditated every single day, but, I still meditate every single day, but there was periods, of course, that I didn't. But yeah, starting at that young age. But when I looked back, I was really guided into, even I traveled a lot in my 20s. And when I look back, I realized how much I was guided to spiritual places to learn about different things. Like I spent my 21st birthday in Israel on a kibbutz, and I'm not Jewish. But I ended up there. It was suggested, so I went. And then, I was just guided to just different, really holy places my whole life. And I didn't realize it until I look back, right? Until you start looking back and you go, oh, I see how it's guided me. But really, and my intuition in my business decisions, it's always been guiding me. And I had a yoga studio. I was a social worker, and then I got an intuitive hit in meditation to become a yoga therapist. So I took my training, and it all just fell into place so easily. And then when I was teaching in my yoga classes and running this yoga studio, I always said, well, I do business like a woman. I don't run it like the way other people are running businesses. I do it my way. And then I just realized how I was just guided and guided and guided along the path.
You talk about the decision to be intuitive or the intuitive hunch.
Yeah,
You've, and you told me a story about being on an airplane with your family.
yeah,
Would
yeah.
you share that with our listeners?
Yeah, so we did a family holiday. I have three children. My husband and I and our three kids went to Costa Rica. And on the way home from the trip, on the way home, my daughter came over and said, can I get the camera to look at the photos? And I just instantly got an intuitive hit. This camera's going to be left on the plane. And I said, like, I hesitated, but she was a teenager and didn't want to be said no to, right? And she's like, I just want to look at them while we're sitting on the plane, like it was no big deal. And I'm like, okay, just don't forget to give it back to me. And she said, okay. So I handed her the camera. She went, sat down, and they were looking at all the photos and stuff, because the three kids were in one seat and my husband and I in another. And so they're looking at all the photos. And then at one point I went up to get the camera, and it was in the pocket, and the string was hanging out the front pocket. And I said, oh, are you done with the photos? Can I take the camera back? And she said, oh, no, we're going to edit. I was just editing some more. I'm going to look at some more. And I'm like, okay, but don't forget to give it back to me. And so it's like, it was strong. It was a strong intuitive hit. And so then, and you know the outcome already, right? And so then we're getting off the plane and there's people behind us. And so when I got to their seat, I paused and I looked one pocket, two pocket, three pocket, and I didn't see the string hanging out. And I thought, okay, she must have it. I must be wrong. But I didn't step in because there's people behind us, right? And so we get off the plane, we get to the baggage claim, and I said, did you get the camera? Or do you have the camera? And she, no, I left it on the plane. And so we hustled trying to find, how we could get the camera back, and it was not happening. And so it was like, and I hate to throw my daughter under the bus, but like to blame her. It wasn't her, it was me that I had this intuitive hit. But the thing is that what I don't always tell in this story is that I'd actually lost my camera twice before we went on that trip. And both times I got it back. And both times I had the intuitive hit, you're going to lose your camera. And then I got it back. And it was almost like the universe said, you're not listening to us. You're not listening to your intuition. You need to learn this lesson. And so the other two times I got the camera back and everything was fine. But then it was that time that no, we did not get the camera back at all. And I knew it. And I thought I did everything. Like I could have taken that step in, put my hand into each pocket, but I didn't do that. And that's why my book is called Intuition is a Choice, because sometimes we follow it and sometimes we don't.
Can you say how you get the intuitive hunch? Does it come? I get messages here or in other ways, but how do you get yours?
Well, I don't believe there's any separation between body, mind, and spirit, right? And so there's always a physical reaction when we get an intuitive hit.
Mhm.
So when you're doing this, like that's the crown chakra, that's messages coming right in, right? And
Mhm.
so often when I'm teaching courses and workshops, I'm scratching the top of my head. I'm also rubbing my third eye, my end of my nose. I get like a frog in my throat when I have a message for somebody. And then there's the gut instinct that we all talk about, that we know about. And that is really, really strong for a lot of us. Also, goosebumps, when we get goosebumps and chills, cold down our back, all of these sensations remind us that we're getting intuitive hits.
Well,
Mhm.
thank you for sharing that. I think it's important for us to inspire our listeners because these things can happen and maybe we're not aware.
Yeah, yeah,
And to
that's
be
it.
aware is the beginning of
Yeah.
the adventure.
Absolutely.
Now, pretty soon we're going to have a commercial break. Now, when I was developing my website, I knew it was going to be a spiritual website, but I
Mhm.
didn't know from what perspective. It took me about 6 months. Finally, I decided love and compassion. I'm going to approach this with love and compassion because if we're
Mhm.
loving and compassionate, we're spiritual, whether we know it or not, because it takes a
Right.
lot of work to get there.
Yeah.
When we come back, I want our listeners to know that I'm going to be asking you about how love and compassion shows up in your business work.
Okay.
So, listeners, stay tuned. We'll be back with this very informative conversation.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Broncu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the A Train to Sedona broadcast. I'm Linda Marsanico with my guest, Candace McKim. So, Candace, how does love and compassion show up in your business and your relationship with your clients?
Well, it shows up all the time. As I said, when I had a yoga studio for 17 years, I always said I did business like a woman. I did business like a woman. And that's what that means. I do it with love, I do it with compassion. And I still do that. Just this last year in one of my courses, I had a client. She was in my group coaching program on manifestation. And it was going really, really well for her. And then she called me up and had wanted to have a call with me, and she had invested in a scam, and she was so upset, and she was so disheartened, and so like, how did I get conned into this? And as a result, she lost $10,000, and just really, really devastated. And it was it was during my manifestation magic course, right? And I'm like, so she still owed me 2 or 3 more payments. And she said, I just can't do it, and I have to drop out. And I said, you're not dropping out. I'll waive the last couple payments. We're not going to worry about that. I want you to stay in the program. And so she was very, very thankful, very grateful. And in the program, I offer bonus coaching calls depending on what they needed. So I was offering these coaching calls, and she said, do I still get these because I'm not paying in full? And I'm like, yes. Like, I really want them to succeed. Right. And that's where my compassion comes in, is that I sometimes want it more than they do, because I can see their potential. I can see how they can grow so much. And so as a result, the last 3 months of the program, she was able to turn things around. She was able to make back the money. She started new offers in her program, and they took off. And so if she hadn't stayed with the program, chances are she would have just felt so badly about herself. So like, how did this happen to me? How did I get conned? And wouldn't have gotten to that place of switching it around, making the money back, and then taking off in her business. And so that's why I do it, is like, I just want to support my clients 100%.
I know the
Yeah.
feeling of wanting it almost as more than a client. I've had that many, many times in my practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what role does intuition play
In
in your role as an entrepreneur and decision making?
I think intuition plays a role in every entrepreneur's business. Like, you can't tell me that the most successful people in the world are not following their intuition, because I know that they are, right? Like, they know when to sell, they know when to buy, they know these things. Like, even my own parents, like I said, they own their own business. And my dad wanted to keep the business a little bit longer. And my mom said, no, this is the time to sell. We have a buyer. Let's sell the business. And I think 6 months after they sold their business and got top dollar, then there was a financial crash. And so I feel like intuition is important for all of us in business, all of our businesses, in life in general. I've made some big decisions and I've made some big moves in my life. And a lot of times I've heard, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? What are you doing? And it's resistance that then we start to second guess ourselves, which I'm sure our audience is feeling that way, that they get intuitive hits and then people are questioning them. But what I've realized is that when people start questioning me, then I know I'm following my intuition, and I'm not following what is expected or what other people think would be best for me. It's like, oh, that's a signal to me that, oh, I'm on the right track because I'm following my intuitive guidance. And I can give you an example of that if you want.
Please do, yes.
Okay, so I had a yoga studio, as I said, for 17 years, and I was a part of an organization, and I raised $20,000 for victims of sex trafficking in India. And so it was a collective. We raised $1 million. So the people who had raised the 20,000, we were all going to go to India to see where the organizations where the money was going. And so I was prepared to go. I was getting all ready to go. And it was 6, 7 weeks before I was leaving to go. And I got the intuitive hit to let my studio go. And 17 years, community, I did workshops, saw clients, like it was my life. And so I thought, no, I'm doing this. And so I phoned up my landlord and I said, I'm giving you 6 weeks notice because I'm going to India. This is why, this is what's happening. And she said, oh, I'll give you a free month's rent. And I'd like to say that I followed my intuitive guidance so strongly that I said, oh, okay. And then hung up the phone, or I said, or would say, no, I'm still going to do it or whatever. Anyway, I didn't. I got off the phone and I had to sit with it. And this is where the intuition, the body, mind, spirit comes in, is I use this tool all the time. And it's a great tool for your audience to do it. So I had this decision to make. I'm at a crossroads and I have two decisions to make. Either I keep the studio or I let the studio go. And so I say it out loud. I said, I'm going to let the studio, or I'm going to keep the studio. And I said it out loud and I got right in my gut. I doubled over and I heard no, no. And then I said, I'm going to let the studio go. And it felt expansive. And I said, I heard the word yes. And so, and like I said, I would like to think that I just made that decision real quick and called her up and said, nope, I'm going to stick to my plan and I'm going to let the studio go. I didn't. I waited another couple of weeks and then I ended up selling the studio. So that worked out even better for me. Yeah. And so then 2 days before I left to go to India, I handed over my keys. But everybody was wondering, like, I swear for 7 years after I sold my studio, people were still saying, Candace, I miss your classes so much. I can't find another yoga instructor. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. There are millions of yoga instructors in the world and you can't find another one, and so anyway, so I knew, and even my own husband said, what are you doing? You're only going to India for 6 weeks. You love teaching yoga. I could teach workshops there. I saw clients there. I had a community. And I'm just like, I don't know. I just have to do it. And the thing is that the other thing to note of this is no decision would have been wrong.
Yes.
Like when we make these decisions, no decision is wrong. What would have happened? I would have stayed in my community. I would have, continued to have a really successful yoga studio and had community with that area. Or I went to India. I saw the organizations. I did a divine feminine spiritual pilgrimage afterwards. I came home. I went through a dark night of the soul for a couple months. And then I started pulling out a deck of oracle cards that I had been writing while I had my studio. And it opened up the time and space for me to create my deck of oracle cards. Then I knew I had a book. So wrote my book, did a TEDx talk, and now have been, well, it's been 10 years or almost 10 years. I've been traveling around, North America, speaking and teaching manifestation and intuition. So no decision would have been wrong, but what it's done is it's gotten it out to more people. It's allowed my messages to get more global.
You took a leap. It takes a lot of courage to take a leap. And with that leap, the possibilities are greater. And you expanded. Would you tell our readers where they can get your wonderful oracle cards? Because we were talking about that before. Yeah.
Yeah, the oracle cards are Yogini's Guide to Intuition oracle cards. And they're available on my website, CandaceMkKim.com. And I'm going to spell it CandaceMkKim.com. And I have the book. The book is in revision right now. So the book is very similar to the cards, where it starts with an image, then the divinatory part, and then a chapter on how to bring spirituality and yoga and intuition into our everyday life. But the cards are still available on my website, CandaceMkKim.com.
And when will the book be ready for people to buy?
Let's say fall. I'm going to say fall.
So fall of 25?
Yes. It's just a revision. So I'm not redoing it. I'm going to draw a card for everybody.
Oh, lovely.
Ardha Chandrasana, half moon. So the words are perception and harmony. And this card is for all of our listeners. If you're in a challenge, if you're going through any struggle right now, if you're making a decision, this card wants you to just look at it from just a little bit different perspective. It's not flipping it up on its head. It's not, going way out of the box. It's just a little bit of a shift. And sometimes, and this is what coaches do, right? This is what I do as a coach, is I help you get a little bit different perspective or perception on a situation. And what that does when you have that little bit different perspective is it creates harmony. It makes you feel better, right? And so I'm encouraging all of the audience to just look at whatever is happening in your life, whatever's causing you a bit of frustration or stress, to just look at it in a little bit different way.
I think that's a very important strategy,
Mm.
so that we can get out of the one way or no way, right? One way or the highway.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are so many different perspectives. It is said, what are there, 8 billion people on the planet? That there are 8 billion different realities. So imagine
Right.
all the different perspectives. And
Yeah.
I always like to look at the highest possible perspective, which I think is the spiritual perspective. So I want to ask a question that I was lingering. With that camera and the 2 times that you found it, the time that you didn't, what was the lesson Spirit was helping you to gather?
To listen to her, to listen to my intuitive hits, to listen to that guidance. And that's why my book is called Intuition is a Choice, because sometimes we follow it and sometimes we don't. And I knew it, I knew it. And that's what I believe. Someone else might have a different perspective on what I was learning there. But that was my belief, is that I need to listen to it, listen to that guidance.
So therefore, you didn't go back to the airline asking, where is my camera?
Oh, we did, but
You
no,
did.
there was no, yeah, we were
It was
making a
gone.
connector. Yeah, we had a connecting flight, and yeah, they don't let you back on the plane.
So I wondered whether it was to help you let go, to learn to let go of something. Often, when I think of when I moved about 2 years ago, I had so many things I had to let go of, and some were hard to let go.
Yeah.
But once I made the decision, which was agonizing,
Yeah.
it was a relief when I let go of it. So for
Yeah.
me, there were many lessons in letting go.
Yes, and I've had that as well. So many lessons of the letting go, just letting it happen. And yeah, that's a great way of looking at the camera situation too, is it was a way of letting go. And yeah, and I wasn't that upset about it. I wasn't really that upset about it, because I guess I knew it was going to happen.
Yes, yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And also, when we pay attention to intuition, we learn to trust ourselves more.
Yes.
This is
100%.
coming. I'm hearing it. I'm feeling it. I'm going to pay attention to it. As you say, intuition is a choice.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, which leads into I believe our intuition is our soul speaking to us. And our soul wants us to go out of our comfort zone. Our soul wants us to go bigger. Our soul is what wants us to really go out and shine in the world. And so when we follow that intuitive guidance, then we start to live our purpose, and we start to manifest what it is that we want to come to us.
Our energy gets lighter and brighter, and then we attract similar energy. It's a wonderful process. Sometimes uncomfortable, but if someone said recently, if you're comfortable, you're not growing.
Exactly. Exactly. Isn't that the truth? Yeah.
So we're getting ready for a break. And when we come back, listeners, I'm going to ask Candace to share a pivotal moment when your spiritual practice directly impacted your business success. And you did tell us the story of letting go of the yoga studio. Is there another situation where you consider it to be pivotal?
Yes, lots, many,
Oh,
many.
okay, so that's what we'll be talking about. We're taking the break now. We'll be back soon.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Ready to serve up success with a splash? Hi, I'm Bruce Kramer, a.k.a. the Corporate Cockroach.
I'm the Renaissance woman, Angie Snowball.
And I'm your strategy doctor, Dr. Navtej Desange, inviting you to serving up success with a splash.
Join us as we shake things up with real talk and real strategies centered around awareness, action, and accountability.
And yes, there really is a cocktail involved. Please Join us and sip your way to success.
Serving up success with a splash, where wisdom meets happy hours. Cheers!
Cheers.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the A Train to Sedona broadcast. I'm Linda Marsanico with my guest, Candace McKim. So, Candace, share a pivotal moment when your spiritual practice directly impacted business success, decision-making, etc.
Well, I think the biggest one really was selling my yoga studio because it has just led me on another path. But I often get asked, how did you apply to do a TEDx talk? How did that process work for you? And I said, oh, I didn't apply. I didn't apply to do a TEDx talk. And how that came about is I was in the final stages of editing my book. And so my sister had the first hard copy, and I had my computer on my lap. And we sat in chairs side by side and we went through and read my whole book to make sure there wasn't any mistakes. And as we're going through this, it was a whole weekend process. As we're going through this, she said to me, you should do a TED talk on this subject. I started laughing like this. And I said, yes, I should do a TED talk on this subject. So I pulled up a document on my computer and wrote TED talk topics. And I wrote it down. And she did this 2 more times throughout the whole book. And the book is long, I have a big book, right? And so she would do, again, it came up. She goes, you should do a TED talk on this subject. And I'm like, yes, I should. And wrote it down again. So the third time, close the document, put the document away. 5 months later, I got an email asking if I'd be interested in doing a TEDx talk. And I'm like, yes, I would. And I said, yes, immediately. And then never told anybody. I told my family and I told my sister. I was scared beyond belief. Scariest thing I've ever done. And so then, because my book had just come out, and so I had been written up in some newspapers, and so my book had come out, and so that's why they had asked me to do a TED talk. And so then I was on my book tour. Then I'm in Montreal, Canada, and I'm teaching a workshop, and there's this woman there, and she said, so what's next for you with your book? And I said, your book tour. And I said, well, I have, a few more locations. I'm going to New York and I'm going to New Jersey. And I had different places I was going. And she said, no, but what else are you going to do? And I said, I'm doing a TED talk. I whispered it to her. And she's like, you are? Well, what's your team doing to get you ready for your TED talk? And I said, team? There's no team. It's just me. And she said, well, I work at Cornell University, and that's what I do is I help people prepare for TED Talks. And I'm like, oh my God, you're kidding. And so that night she had my book and my cards, and she took my folder of my workshop that I was teaching at this yoga studio in Montreal. And she took it home with her, and she came back the next day for the second day of the class. And she said, you've got it. You've got it all. I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you get prepared for your TED Talk. And I'm like, oh, okay, awesome. So then I went to New York to do workshops and stuff. And we had a phone call, and she helped me lay out my TED talk. And then I had another call with her and get it all ready. And you can't make this stuff up. You just cannot make these things up, that when you're in that flow, things happen. Things just flow and flow and flow. And I love it. It's amazing.
It's very beautiful. When you and your colleagues started Clarity, Confidence, Connection Summit,
yeah,
was that a similar process? I know you met each other at an event, and that you just were attracted to each other, and you.
No, that's not actually that.
Oh.
No, what happened is we were all in the same coaching program. And this coaching program wanted us to do what they called a sprint, and it was a 6-week, or I'm not sure how long, I can't even remember, 6-week injection to get money into your business. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. That sounds like hustle energy, and I don't do hustle. Like, been there, done that. I was a social worker. I don't do that. And so I said, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reach out to 6 people a week and just have like coffee chats, 6 people a week, just to connect. And I'm just going to throw it out there that I'd like to do a podcast. And I'm just going to throw it out there that I'd like to do a summit. And so the first person I talked to was Samantha Ka'awa. And she said, oh, I'd like to do a summit together, or summit as well, but I don't want to do it by myself. And I said, yeah, me neither. And then I met Ranchelle and said the same thing. And so she said, oh, I'd like to do a summit. I'll tell you, by doing that, connecting with people, 6 people a week for these coffee chats, within I don't know, within a very, very short time, like I think it was 2 months, I had started my year-long podcast, Find Your Hell Yes, was my show, weekly show. And within 3 months, we had our first summit. And we collaborated together for 2 years. And over the 2 years, we did 4 summits altogether. And it was unreal. Yeah. So very much intuitively guided.
And that's how we met.
And that's how we met. Yes.
You interviewed me.
Yeah.
And we had a very strong connection, just a flow. And as I was mentioning to you, people who listened to my interview when you were interviewing me said, you really had a lovely way of chatting with Candace. So it was lovely. And it was my first summit.
Okay.
And I was thinking this morning that I'm not talking about completion here, but the circle has come around.
It has.
And we'll have to see what's next for us.
Exactly.
And I think it's very exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was excited to be a part of you, and your book wasn't even out yet then.
Correct.
Yeah. It was just coming out. Yeah.
In fact, when you were interviewing me, we thought, well, what should the title of the interview be? You said, choose your book name, The A Train to Sedona. So, and then it came that way. It was the similar thing when Sam Leibowitz, the founder and executive producer, and I were talking about what would the show be. Hey, The A Train to Sedona, keep it simple and keep it the same. So it's been a very lovely ride. And I say that because I think of hopping on board the A train.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that was one of my regrets, that I didn't name my TEDx talk, Intuition is a Choice. Like that was where that came from, because I was like, name it the same as your book, because I didn't name my TED talk the same as my book. And I wished I had have. It's something similar. It's intuition helps you make choices, or something like that. If anybody wants to watch it, they can.
I did watch it.
Yeah.
It's very informative. And might you do another TED talk?
No. And I say that, and now we've dropped the seed.
I'm going to leave that to you.
We'll see what happens, but.
So my next question, Candace, is many people separate business from spirituality. How do you integrate the two?
It's just come very, very natural to me. And it's actually taken me a while to teach how I do it, right? So I teach manifestation, I teach intuition. So when the book came out, I taught intuition. And it took me, because I was just doing it, it took me a while to figure out how to help other people do it. And then I have had a manifestation program for a really, really long time. And it was actually just when I first started the very first summit, when I was going through that period. And I kept getting the nudge all summer long, bring back your manifestation process. And I had it all set up. So we did the summit in September, and I had it all ready to launch at the beginning of November. And then my father passed away in October. And so I just took a step back. And then fast forward a year and a bit, and I'm teaching a retreat in Hawaii with Samantha. And at the retreat, everybody kept asking me about my manifestation process, because I can manifest like this, like things just like how I got a TEDx talk. Like that's how my life works, is I can manifest really quickly. And so people were like, you need to bring that back. And so then I said, yeah, but I just don't like the name that I had before. And then through that retreat, we came up with the name Manifestation Magic. And I tell you, I launched it as soon as so the retreat is in the end of January or February. I launched it in March. And by July, I ran it a few times. By July, I had doubled my income from the whole previous year within 4 months. And it was because I had relaunched the manifestation, and it took me a while to figure out how to teach it, but I have it now, and it works really, really effectively.
And when are you giving the next one?
Well, it's an ongoing process. So I have the manifestation magic. I have a manifestation magic mentorship. So that's for one-on-one people who want like one-on-one coaching. I offer unlimited coaching in that program. I have a VIP day that I've launched this week that if anybody is interested in doing like just one day. And one of the things that people are realizing, my client, so I had a client she signed up for the last course I had. And before the course, she was given a bonus coaching call. So she had a coaching call. And on the coaching call, she didn't realize I do as much business coaching as I do. It's intuitive, it's manifestation, and it's business. Because I've been in business for 30 plus years. I've taken a lot of business training. I know the strategies, but I've evolved them. I've married them together with intuition and manifestation. And so she even said that on the call afterwards. She said, I didn't realize there was going to be so much business coaching here. I thought it was more woo-woo or more intuition, more connecting to spirit alignment and stuff. And I said, yeah, I brought it all together in this form of coaching. And from that coaching call and 3 weeks into the 5-week course, she had manifested 42K. And she was blown away. She goes, Candace, I can't even believe this. She before the course, she didn't know how she was going to pay for the course and was worried about it. She didn't know how she was going to feed her kids. And she signed up for the course, and then she got an income tax refund that covered the cost of the course. So she said, oh, wow, here I am already manifesting. And then she manifested that. And she has work, like this just happened last a few weeks ago, and she has work for the next 5 or 6 months, like already booked out. And she's like, oh my gosh, like she couldn't even believe it. I can't even believe it.
What a testimonial, really, to
Yeah.
effectiveness of your work.
Yeah. It's just having that alignment, getting into that flow.
So when is the enrollment for your next Manifestation Magic course?
So the Manifestation Magic course is ongoing. So it's happening right now. So people can DM me or message me or email me if they're interested in signing up. And then I have other courses that I throw out there every once in a while. Like they just come to me and then I'll throw them out like a 5-week course. And then I have the mentorship, which is the one-on-one, and then the VIP days.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
So they
for
have
sharing.
the whole client journey.
It's an important journey
It is.
where
It is.
mentorship and coaching fit in very, very well. Now we're getting ready for a commercial break. When we come back, listeners, I'm going to ask Candace about the power within, how someone can begin to access and trust that power. And you've talked a little bit about it, but we'll have a more concentrated response. So listeners, stay tuned and come back.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Hi, I'm Linda Marsanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the A Train to Sedona broadcast. I'm Linda Marsanico with my guest, Candace McKim. So, Candace, let's talk about the power within, how someone can begin to access this and trust that inner power.
I think the first thing is not disregarding the thoughts that pop into your head. I know I work a lot with limiting beliefs and clearing out limiting beliefs. But if the thoughts make you feel good, like the difference between making things up in your head and intuitive hits is how they make you feel. Your intuitive hits are always going to make you feel good, empowered, but maybe a little bit scared. Right. And that fear, though, is kind of like there's a fine line between fear and excitement. Like the first time I was asked to speak on stage, I said no. And I'm like, no, that's why when you said, are you going to do another TEDx? And I'm like, no, because it scares me a lot. And then, so when she asked me to speak on stage, I said no. And then she said, well, if you can't do it this time, I'll get you to do it our next meeting. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. Right. Just to get it over and done with. But it led me on my path. And so your intuitive hits are going to take you out of your comfort zone, but on some level, you want to do it. Right. And so I think the first thing is that they're going to make you feel a little bit scared, but they're going to make you feel excited and they're going to make you feel good. The ego makes you feel bad. Like when you get negative self-talk, when you have the limiting beliefs come up, those things make you feel bad. You're in a lower vibration. And you want to there's nothing wrong with being in a lower vibration or a higher vibration. There's no right or wrong, right? There's lessons in both places. The only thing is that when you're in a higher vibration, you're more connected to your creativity, you're more connected to source energy, you're more connected to your intuition. And so when you're in that higher vibration, that's when the intuitive hits are going to come. And so the key is to know, do I feel good or do I feel bad? And how much, we all go through that every single day. Everybody feels bad on some parts of their day. But how much time are you spending in the feeling bad? I've had people say as much as 10, 12 hours a day that they feel in the lower vibration, they feel bad. Then it's like if it's 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, then it's time to change jobs, right? I had one client the entire time I'm at work. And so I guess the first thing is to really, how do I feel? And then if you're in the lower vibration, what can you do to shift it? And I'm not saying you have to change jobs, but change your perception around it. Do the things that make you feel good. Like I meditate every single morning within the first 20 seconds of waking up, I meditate. I grab a meditation app, I throw it on and I meditate. I move my body. Well, the second thing I do is I splash cold water in my face and I say 13 I am statements. I am strong. I am successful. I'm courageous. I am intuitive. I am loving. I am compassionate. All of the words. Then I move my body. Body before business is my mantra. So I move my body and exercise every single morning before I sit down at my computer. Sometimes I'll come and turn my computer off because it gets slow and sluggy. That's what I did today. And then I come back and get it going. But those are some of the things that I do every single day, having those practices.
And so that leads me into the next question, which is kind of related. What practices or daily rituals help you stay connected to love, compassion, and purpose as a leader?
Yeah, so it's self-love, right? It's really is about loving ourselves so that we can love others. And those are some of the things that I do is, like I said, and then what I'll do is I often meditate again in the afternoon. That time of day where you're going for caffeine or you're going for sugar. And I started doing that. Well, I first started doing that when I was going to university because I would not have time to meditate in the morning. So I would meditate in the afternoon. And then when my kids were in school, I would meditate before I would pick them up for school and needed to drive them to all of their activities. I would meditate. And then when I had a yoga studio, because I would teach classes in the morning, I would see clients in the afternoon, and then I would teach classes in the evening. And I needed the energy to get through the evening. So meditating 3:30, 4 o'clock is a great time to meditate. And then, of course, using gratitude practices. One of the exercises I teach my students is to write out 6 impossible things before breakfast. So the idea is that you don't have to do the things before breakfast, but what are 6 impossible things that you don't think could happen? Like a TEDx talk. Those are types of things that we always hear being on Oprah's couch. And so I write down and I get my students, and it's really, really powerful. The one who made the 42K in 3 weeks, that's one of the things she did, is the 6 impossible things. And you write them down every single morning before your breakfast. Is write down 6 things that you think are impossible.
What a beautiful strategy.
Yeah, yeah. It's fun too.
Manifestation, absolutely. It's so funny that you should say that, because I developed a series of questions. I wish to, I want to, and I was describing them at a seminar I was giving. And someone said, what does I wish to mean? I said, it's like 6 impossible things. It's like Alice in Wonderland standing on the tea table and saying, I want to do 6 impossible things before breakfast. And so it's really quite a connection. It's fun. It's fantastical. It's fantasy. It's infinitely possible.
And so many women, especially women, don't dream big enough. We're playing small, and they're not dreaming big enough. And that's what I want, is for everybody to start dreaming bigger, visualizing more for themselves, manifesting more.
Because we're powerful.
Yes. Yes.
And when I think of the Wonder Woman stance, even with the original Linda Carter, and we have this new one, an Israeli actress who has wristbands where she protects herself from bullets on her wristbands. So we need to be big. We need to realize we're big, because when we are aware of that, the attitude shifts. And 6 impossible things before breakfasts is just a wonderful way of describing that in a funny, theatrical way.
Yeah, yeah. And it gets our imagination going, and it's like, oh, and we can laugh about it. Like my sister, when she said, you should do a TED talk on this. And I'm like, yes, I should. Like, I thought it was hilarious, right? Never thought it would happen.
Well, you followed the practice very well, though. You put it down on your computer, and you stated, you didn't say, no, I'm not going to do it. You said, oh, I'm going to do a TED talk. And you laughed. Now, Kuan Yin, the Buddhist mother of mercy and compassion, is channeled by a friend of mine, Laura Lysak. And through Laura, Kuan Yin says, dance, have fun, create energy through your movements. That's the most wonderful way to create positive energy, by being joyful.
Yes.
So we tap into that. And that's the kind of energy we want to send out to everyone.
Yeah. And another one of my mantras is, if it isn't fun, don't do it. If it isn't fun, don't do it. And I've had people say to me, well, that's not really reality, is it? And I'm like, well, it's my reality. I make it fun. The things that I don't want to do, I make it fun for me.
Yes. That's the way.
Yeah.
And with fun and laughter, the endorphins in our brain are kicked in.
Yeah.
It's a fun way. Sometimes I dance around the living room. I need to do that more. I'll have to do that after breakfast. After my 6 impossible things.
Yeah, yeah. Or dance before the 6 impossible things. Then it'll really get the vibration high. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have a few minutes, and I just want to ask you quickly, what would you say to someone who wants to lead with more heart, but fears it won't translate into profit?
Oh, trust yourself, trust faith, trust your higher spirit, like the spirit of your own understanding. Just trust and just lead with your heart, because that's never a mistake to lead with your heart. It is never a mistake to lead with your heart, and to just, one step at a time, and to lead with compassion. Like I said, it was really unpopular for me at that time to, 30 years or 25 years ago, I said, I run my business like a woman. I run my business like a woman, which means that if something happens, I'm still there for you. And it's more about, I want to see their growth. I'm not going to say it's not about the money, because the money is awesome. And but I can do more with the money, right? Like, as I attract, because it's energy. Money is just energy as well. So there's profit there for sure.
Candace, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
How can people find you?
You can email me at info@CandaceMkKim.com, or you could go to my website, CandaceMkKim.com. And it's CANDACE, McKim, McKim.
Lovely. It's been joyful and fun to talk. And I want to say, listeners, that next week I have a guest, Anne Mortifee, who is a singer, a spiritual, very spiritual woman, who is an author, and she has membership in the Order of Canada. So stay tuned next Wednesday. Candace, we'll speak soon.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me here.
You're so welcome.